when I came into like doing heady work, everybody was making the freestyle headies. The oil scene hadn't hit yet, so we had these like big, elaborate, pieces that were uplines and just natural perks, and it didn't really, the function wasn't so important on those. And that was one thing that always stuck out to me, is when I go to make my freestyle pieces, I always do have some sort of diffusion or something going on, because that was always a drawback to those really cool heady pieces, was they usually didn't hit very good, but they weren't being bought for the hit, they were being bought for the art. And now, we know so much more. There's been so much more brought to the table through other artists' innovations and things like that, that there are a bunch of different ways to diffuse pieces nowadays, and you can incorporate them into pretty much any design. And so now the headpieces that I'm putting out, definitely, they have diffusion and hit better than the ones that were put out, 7 years ago.
This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by The Flow magazine. Since its inception, the focus of The Flow has been to provide a bond among members of the lampworking community. In every issue, you can enjoy great content with the hottest artists and cutting-edge techniques using the latest industry products. These features, along with a continuation of our Women in Glass edition, Glasscraft Emerging Artist Awards, inspiring gallery showcases, dynamic general interest articles, as well as health and safety information, make The Flow the leading international lampworking journal. For more information or to subscribe to The Flow, go to theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by American Helix. The American Helix is a revolutionary new concept in smoking technology. Based on Brunelli's principle, the shape of the pipe creates a Venturi effect, causing a swirling motion of the smoke through precision micro holes that are produced for the intake system. This results in a slower burn that conserves tobacco and gives a smooth, refreshing smoke, making the Helix the smoothest hitting pipe on the market. For further info or to locate their products, you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/SS Helix or contact them signaturehelix@gmail.com. That's signaturehelix@gmail.com. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode 109. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. With 17 years of experience behind the torch, I am as excited as always to bring you conversations with artists, sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain while helping you grow your business. And today is no exception. Today is going to be a best of featuring Lurch glass. I am still in the process of getting these how to price your glass and sell your glass episodes recorded and up to date. I was hoping to have them all done last week, and this is kind of a little public service announcement kind of dealio. Last week I had my identity stolen. Actually, it's happened from what I found to be a month ago. Someone decided they were going to use my Chase debit card to open an account with a local fitness place. Gym, actually. Oh shit, here goes that static again. I got some new headphones and I don't understand what the deal is. Hopefully it goes away. Go away, go away, go away. Go away! Alright, sorry guys. That's annoying. And unfortunately, I'm using my Boss Jock app while I'm driving, so I cannot edit this. So I apologize for that little bit of static there. But either way, someone decided to open up an account at a local fitness center with my debit card. I'm not sure how they got it. I don't know if maybe I used my card at a gas station swiper pump gimmick that stole it. But I also then, subsequently, a couple days later, my PayPal debit card was compromised, and there were some items that were purchased with that. I was very proactive, was on top of it because I'm constantly checking my shit, and I was able to cancel all my cards, get new accounts opened up, get my money back, all that kind of shit. Excuse me. Including also filed a police report. And I do and will say that if you ever have any issues with having your identity stolen, whatever it might be, file a report with the police, because if it has to do with your credit, and even though credit is a kind of a kick in the balls, you can and need to contact all of your credit bureaus. There's the 3 major ones, Experian, Equifax, and third one's not coming to me right now, but I'm sure you guys are probably screaming at me who it is. But either way, you got to contact them and then let them know that you do have a police report file number, case number. Sometimes they require that you send them the entire report. But nonetheless, I was able to be very proactive and stay on top of this and got anything taken care of and all things taken care of. Fuck. But it was a complete chaotic week last week. And I don't want to rehash it and repeat it and tell you all about it, but I will say that I did everything from burnt my toes on my left feet with hot glass because I wear flip-flops in my studio. I broke my left pinky toe. I had 2 different debit cards compromised, and also drove all the way out to Disney, which for those who have not listened to the show yet, I definitely would recommend going back and listening to some other ones because this is going to be kind of an odd episode. But I work over at Disney for the Arribas Brothers as a glass artist, and I drive an hour and a half one-way commute. And I drove all the way out there last Thursday, come to find out that I wasn't scheduled. That's always fun. So, and it was even on my paper, on my calendar, I mean, the whole 9 yards. So, last week was a big kick in the fucking balls. So, this week, I am praying that it goes a lot smoother. Today, I'm driving somewhat through Tropical Storm Colin that is about to come on shore here later this evening. So, hopefully, my evening commute won't be too bad. They're saying this thing's supposed to hit northern panhandle up in like the Pensacola area of Florida and then quickly go across the state. And where I am in Orlando at Disney, it's actually supposed to miss us almost 100%. So I'm just trying to get my ass out to there as quick as possible. So that being said, because I was focused on taking care of some personal business last week, I didn't record any of the episodes, but I did get all the manuscripts done. So because I don't usually read a script when I do my shows, this series coming up, which is going to be all about pricing work, selling your work, it's manuscripted. Fuck, I'm sorry. So yeah, so it's going to be, you know, it's written. It's going to keep me on track and to the point because the information about selling your work is very important. Before I get too long-winded here, today is going to be a best of featuring Lurch Glass. He is an incredible artist, works out of Goosefire Gallery out in Cali. He has an awesome story and is also an artist that has a story all about perseverance and also taking opportunities as you get them in life and completely taking them to full advantage and learning lessons and skills along the way until you finally culminate into this big aha moment to when you find that point in time in your life where you really feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Before I get too off topic, though, I want to let you guys know, which I haven't recorded yet, but right now Mountain Glass has their June 2016 sales going on. They actually have 3 sales right now. Lucky all of us. Right now they've got 2 Boros sales going on. Their first Boros sale is North Star First Quality Rods. You can get for 30% off. Just put in the code NORTH. Oh, okay, I see what they're doing. So I'm kind of confused. So this is kind of weird, but North Grind is what they are using for their code. You get that discount code using that for their AccuGrind joints. So whether you want to get AccuGrind joints or North Star First Quality Rods, just put in the code NORTHGRIND, NORTHGRIND, and you can receive 30% off North Star First Quality Glass color, and also you can get 30% off their Boros sale on their AccuGrind joints. And for all you soft glass nerds out there, and I hope you know that when I say that you're a soft glass nerds, that it is a term of endearment because I love y'all, and soft glass is very tricky. But anyways, right now they're having a 30% off. Their color is Messy sale. Just put in the code MESSY, MESSY, at checkout, and you'll receive 30% off colors Messy. So let me recap. All you Boro people out there, they are having a 30% off sale on North Star first quality rods and also AccuGrind joints. Just put in the code NORTHGRIND, NORTHGRIND, whether you're buying the color or the joints. And then for all you soft glass people out there, just go ahead and put in the code MESSY at checkout if you are going to be purchasing anything that has to do with color is messy. So so there you go. And just kind of one more thing, I want to just recap real quickly again what I will be doing with this series. And you can actually go on right now to the website, to wiseguymedia.com. If you click on the resource page, I am starting to upload all the resources. And the first resource page I have up for this episode series coming up, which is going to be all about selling to a distributor, is up there with ways you can calculate how to best price your work and how to fine-tune it. So that way when you are selling to a distributor, you're not selling it for too much to them so that they can't sell your work, but also you're not undercutting yourself as well. But that's going to be the first episode will be about distribution. Second episode will be selling to a retailer, which is B2B or business to business. The third episode is going to be how to sell directly to a customer, basically in the retail side of things and how to go about that. And then the fourth episode is going to be all about whether you're the debate, if you want to call it, but it's going to be my perspective and some other folks also, all about talking about mass high volume production versus low volume production. So basically it's going to be low end high volume production versus high end low volume production. And then the episode 5 or series 5 we're going to be doing this will be all about doing commission work, how to go about going and reaching out to clients and going through the process of an actual commission. I have in the past, and haven't pursued it in several years, actually since I got my job at Disney, but I have had some pretty big success in the past 10 years with commission work when it comes to some of my higher end work. Not to brag, but made chandeliers up into the numbers of $20,000 that I received. And I think that for all of us, our goal in this whole adventure is to be able to sell work in the long run where we are making that kind of money. Whether we're selling pipes, whether we're selling artwork, whether we're selling household goods. There's so many different areas you can get into. Just depends on your expertise and also how far you want to go with your work. So we're going to be getting into all that talk and everything. So I think I'm probably about 10 minutes in on this fucking ramble here. And so, yeah, hopefully you guys are still here listening to the show. But either way, I'm a bounce. I'm about to get into some heavy traffic. It's fucking pouring down rain. Wish me luck getting to work. And I promise that this Friday will be episode 1 of the series all about pricing our work. Oh yeah, fuck, what am I doing? Dudes, it is officially the 1-year anniversary of the Wise Guy Radio Show. Can you believe it? It's been a year. So, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Happy birthday to the Wise Guy Radio Show. It has been a year. Holy shit, I completely forgot to tell you guys, because I recorded this actually on Friday on the way to work, and it sounded like a donkey's asshole, and I decided I didn't want to have that recorded and out to you guys, because I know donkeys' buttholes and assholes don't really sound well in your ears. So anyways, yeah, I'm 11 minutes and 25 seconds into this ramble. So yeah, happy anniversary. Thank you guys, seriously. Guys, gals, babies, dogs, cats, fish, whoever the hell is listening to the show. We've reached getting close to 50,000 downloads, which means that there's probably been at least 100,000 listens. I'm going to assume that half of you have iPhones and half of you have Droids, which means those that have Droids are unable to actually download the show. You can save it on your players and listen to it, but in terms of the numbers that I see, it doesn't show me how many of you are listening exactly. All I get is the downloads through iTunes, which is why in a lot of podcast space you hear the host asking you to go ahead and subscribe to the show on iTunes, because it allows us to truly gauge how many folks of you out there are listening and downloading the shows. We can actually see day to day, we can see individual episodes, we can see by the hour, by the day, the country, the whole 9 yards. So worldwide, love you all. Big hugs and kisses, high fives, daps, whatever you want to do. We got all kind of handshakes we can do. But again, thank you. Seriously, it's been a year, 109 episodes. It's just amazing. You guys are fucking awesome. I love each and every one of you. Thank you, everybody that tuned in to Torch Talk Tuesday last week. That was a lot of fun. That was a adventure, and I hope, and actually I shouldn't say I hope, but I have received a shit ton of feedback from you all from that night that I did that demo. For those who have not seen it, you can just go to Torch Talk on YouTube. You guys can subscribe to that. They have every Tuesday they do Torch Talk Tuesday, where it's a live demonstration techniques and what have you. And I was on last Tuesday talking about and sharing how to make flowers. Glass flowers, which I find the glass flower is a great introduction into sculptural work and flame work. So I've had a lot of folks reach out, tag me in their pictures on Instagram and also on Facebook, showing me their pictures of their flowers they made. And it just makes me smile. It makes me so happy. It validates that I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and that you all are awesome at listening and following along. And once you know your medium, it really proves that this is how it should be. If you can get good instruction and you know how to work your medium, then you should be able to take that instruction and make it into something. So again, I did a flower demonstration. I don't know exactly what number it was. It was like 83, maybe 86. But just go on Torch Talk, look for flower demonstration. It should say my name, Jason Burkholzer. It may also just say J. Michael or whatever. But either way, check it out. Let me know what you think about it. And I'm out of here. Again, rambling. 15 minutes almost. Holy balls. So anyways, I love you guys. Go to wiseguymedia.com. When you go to the website, the little subscribe button thing will pop up. Subscribe to the newsletter. You guys will get full access to all the PDF downloads for all the new shows coming up, as well as some upcoming cool shows. The guests we're going to have on, the whole 9 yards. Man, this episode beginning is hiccups and burps and yawns and all kind of shit. My God. So enjoy. Best of with Lurch out of California. Goosefire Gallery. Love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. We got our boy Lurch with us today. What's going on, Lurch? How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. How are you doing this morning?
Good, man. It's a pleasure to have you on here and an honor. If you want to kind of start off by giving us some insights into your beginnings and who you learned from and your little circle that you run in.
Yeah, for sure. I got my start at in November of 2000. I was working at In-N-Out Burger at the time, and a friend of mine that I went to high school with, she called me and asked if I wanted to learn how to blow glass. Her sister had married a dude that distributed production pieces across the country. And I said yes, and so I went. I didn't realize then, but I'd be going, and I interviewed with the company Crush, who's a really big, distributor for production pieces. And I got hired on, and I spent the first 2 years working with them. I learned underneath a guy named Steve Fish, who's still blowing glass. He came from an area called Moscow, Idaho. And this, I guess there was like a little glass blowing scene going on up there at the time. And he ended up making production pieces for Crush in their catalog. And so Crush ended up moving him down to Southern California to open up like a manufacturing site. And that's where I came in, as I was one of the people hired to start manufacturing these lines. And so he trained me, which was cool. I got paid to train, which is like really unheard of in this industry. So that was kind of cool to make a wage while I was learning. And then my commitment was 2 years with them. And once that was done, I went and worked for Tommy Chong for a couple of months. But I had come from a place that was really quota heavy to keep your job. Like we had to make 30 to 40 pieces a day to stay employed.
Wow. And
then you go over to a place like Tommy Chong's, which was paid per piece. So it was a very different mentality. And so like my numbers were really, really huge, which didn't set well with the other blowers that were working there at the time, because like once orders were filled, they were filled. And so needless to say, I didn't last too long over there with with the other blowers complaining that I was taking away their work, which is totally understandable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
looking back in hindsight, like, there's no hard feelings or anything like that. Like, I met a lot of cool people, and I totally understand their point of view. But so I just ended up going back to Crush. They were eager to have me back. And then I worked there until the Operation Pipe Dreams happened and everything kind of got shut down. It was really weird because, like, right before that happened, I had like this nagging sensation in the back of my head that, like, hey, yo, you got to buy your own equipment. You know, all these people are sitting around working for these guys. You should probably invest in your own equipment. You should invest in your own equipment. And so, like, literally the week that my stuff arrived, that's when Operation Pipe Dreams happened. And so one day I'm sitting at the desk, and the day that all went down, like, Crush never got raided or anything like that, but it was enough with everything else that was going on for them to kind of shut down for a while. So I got tapped on the shoulder one day while I'm working and told, shut down, it's over, go home.
Shit.
And so that was it. Yeah, I got dicked out of my last paycheck for a week, which I was bitter about for a while, but then in the scheme of life, like, it doesn't matter. I got a trade that, and, you know, I was the only one that I worked with that saved up and bought his own equipment, which was really cool. Because once that happened, I went to Alabama for like a year just to kind of woodshed and live on the cheap. And then around 9 months after moving to Alabama, I started getting calls from other companies that were back here in SoCal that had started back up. And so I ended up going and making my own lines for another distribution company called Dynamite. And I worked with them for like the next probably 4 years, I think, until like 2007 was when I started to get really, really burnt out on the production work. You know, you're making 100 of the same piece every week. I had like 32 designs in the Dynamite catalog. So I did have a variety of things to make, but it was the same thing over and over and over again, you know?
Oh, yeah, man. I did that same shit for about 12 years.
So, yeah. So,
I mean,
there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's a very steady paycheck. You know, production's a good way to go if you're looking to have a steady paycheck. But I was getting burnt out creatively and artistically. And around that time is when I discovered the online communities of like the Melting Pot and glasspipes.org and Toke City and those places. And well, you know, it wasn't Toke City yet. It was glasspipes.org and the Melting Pot I started to like get active on. And I was nobody. I came out with the name Lurch around that time. And no one had heard of me. No one had known me. A lot of the people that you see, they come up in crews, which is normal. Like, they're friends, they were blowing glass together, and they come up, and they've kind of come up as a group. You know this studio, you know these people are at that studio, they came up together. And I was just like totally crewless, but I did have knowledge, and I started to be active on the Melting Pot and help people out. And like, I started to get paid attention to, I guess, by some of the known artists at the time. And so I was making a name for myself on that website, just being helpful, being normal, not being a dick. It's not hard to do, people.
Exactly.
It's, you know, you just and so there were certain people I started communicating with on that site, and then I discovered glasspipes.org. And man, when I discovered the headies and stuff that people were making, I literally felt like I had been kicked in the stomach for a good month. Like, I felt sick to my stomach. I was looking at my own work, which was nowhere near what these people were doing. And then I started reading these people's biographies, and like, they'd only been blowing glass for 2 to 3 years, you know, and they're making these sick pieces. And I just felt like I was totally worthless, and I felt like I didn't have skills, and I felt miserable for like a month. Like, I really, really beat myself up over it. And every day I'd go online and look at these pieces and just feel worse and worse and worse. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, this is doing you no good. You're just beating yourself up over, you know, something you can't control right now. Why don't you write some of these artists you like, you know, emails and see if you can't learn, you know? And so I did. And Yushin was one that his work I'd always visit his page and go through his pieces. And so I ended up writing him a letter. I was like, hey dude, I really like your work. You know, I'd like to learn. I've been doing this low end production forever. I'm sick to my stomach over it. And he wrote me back. He's like, yeah, I'd be willing to teach you. This is what I charge per day. I'm in Berkeley. Come on up. Let's do this. So I took a private, I think it was 4 days from Yushin. He let me crash on the floor of his bedroom. He didn't even know who I was. Like,
That's awesome.
It was really cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You just meet someone totally cool. He's anything I wanted to learn, he showed me. He showed me how to make my own color tubing. He showed me how to like wig-wag up stuff and reverse them and stack patterns. And a lot of my style now just directly goes back to that. Goes back to what Yushin showed me. And I've since taken lessons from other artists and progressed my craft, but it all goes back to Yushin. And it was shortly after learning the headies and from Yushin and starting to work on my patterns and trying to get those cleaner, that like Nathan Myers happened to be in Southern California, and through the melting pot I saw that, and I was like, hey dude, if you got time, come by. My house is here in this town called Parablossom. That's where I was living at the time. And he wrote me back. He's like, if I were to throw a rock over these mountains I'm looking at right now, I would hit where you're at. So I'm gonna come through tomorrow. And so he ended up coming through to my house. He stayed the night. He showed me some stuff. We worked in my garage. And so I've been really lucky that either through lessons or through meeting the other artists, especially early on when no one knew who I was, that these people were willing to take the time and give me some hints or just help me out along the way. And I'm like, every year I try to make sure to show my gratitude. I'm not one of those that every piece I make, I got to give props to all the people that came before me or anything like that. But I feel compelled to, around the time of my anniversary, to definitely publicly thank those people who have directly helped me out in my journey in art and in my career,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So,
yeah, it's important. And, it's like I like hearing, I hear the word luck thrown around a lot. But, it seems like you have a drive, you have a passion for what you do. And you also had a skill set based on what you had before you met Yushin and Nate Myers, so it's cool. Like, I wonder if those guys would have taken you under their wing, or if you would have even reached out to them, having that confidence, because you have to have some kind of confidence to, at that time, to contact Yushin up, So, it makes you wonder.
The thing is I didn't know, because I was so new to this side of the industry. I just dealt with like production companies, and I really didn't know who Yushin was in the scheme of things. So in my own like naivety, I guess, like being naive, I just didn't. I just was like, what's the worst they can say is no. Like, that's always just throughout my life, like the worst they can say is no. I always go for what I want. If there's something I want, I'm going to try for it. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But I'm going to try. I'm not one to sit around going, man, I really wish I had given it a shot.
Yeah.
I'd rather just like get the no and have the rejection or fail than to wonder, because a lot of times you don't fail. A lot of times you do succeed. So, I didn't know that Yushin was down to teach. He had just started teaching people. As far as I can remember, I think I was his second student. He had taught a dude named Frankie Hess right before me.
Okay.
And so, it was just happened to be the right time. It seems like I've been in the right time in the right place a lot with this industry.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Yeah, sounds like it. Hell yeah. So, do you teach now yourself at all? Do you teach classes?
I have taught some classes. I've taught a few people privately on one-on-one lessons, and then I did my first group class a few months ago at Pacific Art Glass, and that was the first time I got to teach. I think I had 5 students all at once, and that was a lot different than teaching one-on-one.
Yeah,
I actually learned a lot in teaching the group. As opposed to one-on-one, I just show my stuff and I'm working with a student. With the group, I was showing them techniques, and it was a hands-on class. So then they were going and trying to do what I showed them themselves. And I'd ended up having to fix a lot of their work. They'd come into problems that they made mistakes or whatever, were having trouble controlling the glass, and they need help. And so I got to like fix a lot of other people's mistakes, which was cool because I'm used to making my mistakes. I know where my eye goes and what I need to look for and pay attention for, the things that I overlook. I'm fully aware of the things that, I need to double check for my own work. But to go and have to undo someone else's stuff where you're just being handed something that's a mess and you don't know how they got to that point, I learned a lot, and that was really, really awesome. And my students did great. They all picked up the techniques I was showing them. It was an awesome experience, but that was something I hadn't had before, where, you just, hey, help me over here. And then you walk, to someone's bench and they hand this piece of glass.
Too funny.
I do enjoy teaching. For sure. I plan on doing some more classes this year. I'm in talks with a couple of studios up on the West Coast to do some classes, and I'm hoping that they all line up so that way I can just kind of like road trip and tour.
Yeah, man.
Be kind of nice.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, something I think where I'm at now. It's between doing the podcast and what have you, and I've taught a lot of people over the years, but like right now, my passion I'm feeling really is to educate and teach classes, and besides promoting and talking about the business side of stuff and sharing stories. But I love to see the growth. I love having a new student coming into my studio and being completely freaked out to even turn the torch on, and then like 3 days later, they're like, they've been doing this their whole life, It's neat,
nice.
It's neat, Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
definitely. I know there's quite a few people that blow glass today that they'll say they got their first experience on a torch in one of my studios, because I've never been afraid to be hanging out with my friends or with people, and they watching me blow glass, and I'll look at them and say, "You want to try to melt something?" And it's neat to watch people's faces light up and really, really get into it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So with your studio set up now, are you at your house or do you share a space?
Right now I work out of the Goosefire Gallery.
Okay.
That would be considered my main studio. And so it's a shared space. It's a pretty well-known studio here on the West Coast. I work with Hoobs, Nerve, D-Rec, Boom Falaise, Lamar, Splinter, Utopian Society, Montoya Glass. There's a few of us that are out of that spot. And
nice.
yeah, it's really nice, and it's been kind of a magnet for other artists that are traveling through the area. They come through and they work. So it's been a great opportunity to work with a lot of people I might not otherwise have the chance to. We've had like Matt Robertson come through, Slinger, Gasp, Kind. The list goes on. Gonzo. There's been tons and tons of artists. JOP, Icky. Yeah, I could probably spend a half hour naming people that have come through to work. And it's awesome. Like Chalice, Chalice is an event that's here in Southern California that a lot of the glass artists go to. And so like the week out of Chalice was crazy. We were completely packed every bench was full with,
that's awesome.
Guest artists. And yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, I've actually never been there myself, and it's one of my on my list, because I've actually never been to California, which is kind of crazy, but living in Florida my whole life.
Oh, you should get out here.
Yeah, I need
tons of people to work with out here.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, no, it'd be a lot of fun. The setup for Goosefire, do they have like a windows for the public to see what's going on in there, or is it?
Yeah, we have a gallery space where they sell the glass art out of, which is beautiful, and then there's 4 giant windows that look into the studio space. And so you can see whoever happens to be there working, you can see them work for a while. Not all of the desks, you have a clear view of what's going on, but you can definitely see people that, the glass is being melted, things are going on. We have a 650-gallon saltwater reef tank in the middle of our studio.
Fuck yeah.
Which is just it's just beautiful. You can see it from the gallery, and then when you're back in the studio, it's incredible. And that's like Hoobs' baby. It's his pet project. And
too cool.
Just as much time on that tank as he does blowing glass. It's insane the hours that tank takes up, and it's incredible though. I mean, he's got that thing awesome.
Hell yeah. I want to get him on the show. I love his work. It's the technical side. He's kind of innovating wise has changed a lot for the industry, which is kind of fun, seeing that style that he does.
Yeah, he's awesome. He happens to be. I split my time with my living situation because Goosefire is about, on a good traffic day, an hour and a half away from my house. And so to commute there every day would be unrealistic. So I actually I rent a room from Hoobs down in Huntington Beach, and I stay most of the week while I'm working down there, and then I come up to the mountains where my house is to hang out with my family. So it's a pretty neat working situation environment, because it's all glass when I'm down there. My roommates are glass blowers, and it's all about the studio and the long hours at the studio, and then I'm able to get away and be in the mountains with my family.
Yeah, man, that's interesting.
For a couple of days. Yeah, it's not ideal for, I think, everybody, or like the what society, I guess, comes to expect. Right. But it totally works for us.
Yeah, I understand that, man, because like I working over at Disney, it's an hour and a half one way for me to go out there, when I'm working over there. And when I was there full time, I was doing like 5 to 7 days in a row, and that I was like, I wanted to be home. It was like I want to go sleep in my own bed, and so I did. So I did that round trip freaking commute, man, for like almost 2.5 years full time. There was crazy.
It's rough.
Yeah, I took advantage of the time on the road with like books on tape and podcasts and different things like that. But yeah, there was definitely many days of being on the road like, man, fuck this drive.
Yeah, that's it. It eats away your life, if you're not good with your time. It can really just eat away. I did commuting for a while when I was learning how to blow glass, and it was only an hour each way, but every day that adds up.
Yeah.
And so when I had the opportunity to work at Goosefire, that was one of the things that was a concern, was the drive. And I mean, on a good traffic, I have to drive through LA to get to Goosefire from where I'm at in the mountains. And so you hit the same freeway in the wrong time, and it can be a 3-hour or more drive. So it just became one of those things where, I got the offer to come to Goose, and I got the offer to rent a room, and I took it.
Yeah, man. And it's cool too, because it goes along the importance too of being supported by your family, like not only your friends and the guys you work around with and gals, but like, if you have a wife and kids, it's like, it's such because the glass art, I mean, just as a small business owner in general, money isn't always consistent, especially when you're away for that long. It's got to, it's not always easy, but it's to have the support that you have. If there's no other way you could do that, which is incredible.
Yeah, no, it's I'm definitely really lucky to have the family that I have. I've got 3 kids and an awesome wife, and I couldn't do it without the support, that's for sure.
How old are your kids?
I have a 6-year-old son. I have a almost 3-year-old daughter, and then I have a daughter that's turning 1 tomorrow.
Oh, wow, hell yeah.
Yeah, so I got 3 and hopefully no more. I love them, but man, I mean, you have kids, so you know.
Yeah, man, 2's enough for me.
Yeah, and I mean, my wife holds it down. Without her, there would be no Lurch glass, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's a freaking soldier. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what, when you're out of the torch and you're home with the family, what do you guys do for your extracurricular activities?
When I'm home with the family, we like to, the kids love it if I chase them around the house. We have pool noodle lightsabers that they like to lightsaber fight with.
Hell yeah.
They love playing board games. We like going to the park. I live out in the high desert, and so it's kind of a rural area. It's we're not in a neighborhood like you imagine. Then we're all on 2-acre or more lots. So we don't have like the neighborhood kind of thing where the kids have neighborhood friends to play with and that kind of stuff. But we do take them up to Wrightwood, which isn't far. It's a city that's a little bit higher up the mountains. We're in the foothills, and then the mountains are right next to us. And Wrightwood has a snowboard park and has hiking trails and has all sorts of things to do. And so we like to go up there as a family and spend time. Yeah,
that's too much fun. Yeah, especially now with Christmas being over. I was going through your Instagram the other day and seeing all your Star Wars posts and the excitement with going with the kids and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's amazing how a movie, from our generation can now become a part of our kids' generation and really tie a lot of stuff together. It's kind of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really cool, especially with the Star Wars, because it was a big deal in my family. I remember being a kid in line for Return of the Jedi on opening day with my mom. And so when The Phantom Menace came out in the late 90s, I took my mom on opening day to repay her. I saw, the rest of the prequel, each movie on opening day, and then, a few times at the theater. And with this one, because my son was so into Star Wars, and then we've been hyping up the movie for the last year, he had never been to a movie theater, and his birthday is on Christmas Day. And so we told him, for his birthday, we were going to take him to the movies. And so for his first movie theater experience, we took him to an IMAX 3D showing of the Star Wars film. And,
you've ruined him.
I know, right? But how awesome. And he just sat there. He didn't say a word. He held my hand on one side. He held my wife's hand on the other side. And occasionally you'd feel him jump and squeeze, as the action got intense or whatever. But I have to tell you, he wanted me to read the words,
Yeah, at the beginning.
the words in the
Yeah.
beginning, yeah, the little summary of what's going on, and I started to read the words, and man, I got all choked up remembering my mom doing that to me. It was kind of weird, and it was cool. It was really cool. I
Yeah,
like
man.
the kids are awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's the best, and it's like I don't know. I don't know where I'd be without my kids. You know, it's like would I be out wandering the woods somewhere or dead on the side of the road or some shit?
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's
mean,
like what the fuck?
I mean that's and you love them incredibly. Like I
Yeah,
can't explain it. They're amazing.
yeah, it's good stuff. Hell yeah, dude. So I guess with that, what kind of torch you work on?
I work on a GTT Mirage. Before that, I had a GTT Phantom, and before that, for like the first 8 years that I blew glass, I used a little National 3A hand torch that was duct taped to my bench.
Beautiful. Hell yeah. You hear that, guys? Anybody new out there? It is never. It's not, I mean, seriously, it's not a bad thing at all. I started on a minor bench burner, but to start off on a small torch and learn your craft is the way to go. Because next thing you know, you're working on a big ass GTT. But it takes
Yeah,
like
and
6 to 8 years to get there.
well, I mean, definitely, I think that I could have progressed faster if I had a larger torch at some point, but to learn on the National was not a bad thing at all. You can make some pretty good sized pieces on them. Fuming's way easier on a torch like that than
Yeah.
on a GTT, although I've got my fuming down on a GTT now. But yeah, I mean, now that I'm on my Mirage, I don't think I'd go back to the hand torch, as a main torch. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really love the Mirage that I have.
Yeah, man, I've been working on a CC now, my Carlisle, for 15 years now. I think I've had it for maybe a little longer than that.
Yeah, those are great torches too. I have a little bit of experience on those, and those are awesome torches.
Yeah, but man, I've been working on a GTT lately, and it's like I'm ready. It's time to take a step.
Hotter, quicker.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's weird, man. It's such, and for those that are listening that don't understand, it's like the idea that the penetration of the heat gets the molecules heated up rapidly in a faster, more focused spot, so the glass literally gets hotter faster. But it's weird, man, because it's like with the Carlisle, the glass is like a gradual heat, where like with the GTTs, it's like it takes a second, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, it's fucking it's
Yeah.
out of control.
Yeah, it gets soupy quick.
It's
That was
crazy.
one thing I noticed too when I first switched over to the Phantom. It was like the stiff, then soup.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's neat though, and I'm really curious to see like with now that Bethlehem and other companies are coming out with their triple and quadruple mixes, and like what the hell the torch is going to be like. If it's going to be like the rig where it's gone from like an 18 mil female down to a 10 mil back to a 14, are we going to be going from these little tiny torches to big torches? Now we're going to have like these small torches. It's like kind of interesting, like the cell phones. It's kind of weird. I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious to see where it's all going to go, because like to have a smaller, really hot torch would be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Portability wise.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, all of the companies are coming out with definitely new, cool innovations. We've got a couple of the GTT torches that run on the compressed air at the studio now.
Nice.
And I haven't gotten to work on one yet, but they seem pretty cool.
Heck yeah. Are they more
Yeah.
conserving on oxygen, or they just get hotter faster?
It changes the flame. It makes the flame softer, more like a Herbie
Okay.
than a driving GTT, it seems. But like I said, I haven't gotten to play on one myself, but it does seem pretty cool. I'm eager to.
Heck yeah. What kind of kilns you guys got in there?
Oh man, we have everything. I personally run. I have a Paragon SC2. It's like a little bead kiln. And then I also have a AIM. I think it's called a Humboldt. It's like 17 by 17 by 15. It's like a big kiln. I run both of those. We have even bigger kilns than that, and yeah, we run the gauntlet. We have Paragons and Aims and Scuts. We have all of the brands. We have Crucibles. We dip our own color. Yeah, it's too hard to say what it's more.
Yeah, I'm
what
sure.
kilns don't we have?
So in that kind of environment, then, so do you guys like all like share costs, or do you rent your bench space? Like, how do you guys go about like, if y'all are going to run a batch, on a furnace pulls type stuff? Like, how do you guys go about coordinating that whole situation?
Well, as far as bench space goes, we pay a flat rate for a bench space, and that includes our electricity and oxygen and gas use. And then as far as the color and stuff goes, usually you just buy your own cullet. So most of the time it's Nerve and Hoobs that they're buying the cullet, and so they dip out the color. And if you help them out, usually they, break you off for your time. They'll kick you down with some color, or they'll sell it to you too. So
Cool.
It makes it easy for us if we see something and they've got enough of it. Then it's like, hey, can I get a pound of that? So. Also at Goosefire, they sell raw materials, so a lot of the colors that get dipped out, Goosefire ends up. I'm not sure how they work it out, but obviously they buy a bunch of it and then they retail it out to the public. So you can get your tools and supplies and stuff right from the gallery.
Rad.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's it's such a cool environment, especially again like the circle that you have in there of the different variations of artists. It's like it's pretty neat. It's cool influences.
Yeah, it's neat. We all have our own styles that we go to. We've got killer guys on the lathe, so if you need a tube put together or you want to collab on a tube, it's easy to hit those guys up if they're not super busy. I've been at the shop and I've had Derek D.W.G.R.S yell across, "Hey Lurch, do you want to collab? I got this Sherlock ready for attachments." And he'll literally just bring over a shaped Sherlock that he wants me to put marbles and horns and let me do my thing to. So collabs like that are a lot of fun. I've made some really cool stuff with almost I don't think there's anybody I haven't worked with at the studio yet. I've collabed with Boom, with Lamar, with Nerve, with Splinter, with Utopian Society. With all of them I've collabed with, and some of the stuff we make are really rad.
Yeah, it is. I bet. Hell yeah. So in terms of your sales for yourself, how do you go about marketing your work?
I have my Instagram, I have my Facebook, I have my glasspipes.org, which I haven't really updated in a while. I should get more active on that. Just pretty much online. I just share pictures of my work. The stores I deal with, they, call me or I hit them up. I don't really have too many production lines, so to say. Like even the stuff that would be considered production, I try to make less than 100 of a year, so that way it becomes more collectible. Or if you do see it, it's not like, oh, I'm going to see that next week. You might want to pick it up. So there are certain items that I let stores place orders on, like my Lurch rigs, slides. I'm usually always producing because after all these years, I still like making glass on glass slide. A lot of people still collect them, and so.
Yeah.
I make my pendants. I make those are the types of things that stores can order. But most of the other things I make one-ofs. Like if you see something that I post online, stores know to hit me up direct. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll see a cool bubbler I made, hit me up about that bubbler, and then build an order around that. Like, what else do you have available? I can send them pictures, or they want to order some slides or some other rigs or, things that I produce. Some of my Sherlocks I do mass produce, so, they can order and place orders for multiples of those. But, I have collectors that hit me up direct occasionally too. I don't really do a whole lot of like custom work to where the public can hit me up and just, hey, I want this and this and this. There are a few individuals that I've worked with over the past couple of years that I do customs for, but they're established clients. We haven't had issues with doing that kind of work in the past, where a lot of times what happens is the vision that a customer has in their head of what they want you to make and what you make doesn't line up. And so, there ends up being problems with that. So I try to avoid doing a lot of custom work,
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I'm been probably the past year and a half, we've been developing a website that's for customizing glass. That's going to take all that shit out of it, so they can actually see what it is that they're wanting to have made. So
nice. That would be an awesome thing to have.
Yeah, man. It's been it's like, I don't know code or computer shit, and seeing my buddy doing this stuff, it's like, it's mind blowing what they can do with numbers on a computer.
Yeah. I'm not very computer savvy myself. I feel spending the time in the studio that we do, we kind of, I don't know what's popular on TV right now. I watch maybe an hour of TV a week. I hear people talk about these shows that I have no idea. And then computer stuff like Lamar is really talented with the computers. He knows a lot about it, and I try to follow him when he talks, and I don't know much about computers. I'm not very computer literate, but
Yeah.
I can make some cool stuff out of glass occasionally.
Yeah, man, that's all that matters. Take some pictures and put them on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that, no problem.
Yeah, speaking of pictures, so do you guys have a photographer in the studio that comes by and takes pictures for you guys at all? Or do you do most of your own stuff?
I take most of my own pictures. Goosefire has a photographer that takes the pictures that they have of the pieces in the gallery and that they get for the gallery, and then for the shows that we have in the gallery, they have a photographer that does that. And then a lot of the guys out of the studio use Alex, and I think his I'm trying to remember his Instagram handle, but he does a lot of the pictures for Hot Breath magazine. I think it's Area SoCal or something like that. I probably have it wrong though, but he takes a lot of the pictures for Hot Breath magazine, and then he does a lot of Hoob's personal photos of glass, and he does a lot of the times we'll have him come by, and then we'll give him the pieces while he's at the studio. He might spend 2 or 3 days at the studio just photographing our glass for us.
Cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's nice. So do you ever do any kind of trade shows at all?
Yeah, I've done lots of trade shows. I've done AGE is the one that I do the most. I've done Champs for their glass games. I've competed in that. I've done a lot of the AGE demos over the years. I've done AGE in Denver, but most of the ones I just do out in Vegas because it's not too far a drive from my house, just a couple hours. And I always enjoy the trade shows. Always. They're always fun.
Do you find they're more fun just for the entertainment value of it, or is it like, do you have actual luck with your orders and selling glass there?
Well, I don't take orders there, so for me, I just go and sell what glass I brought with me. If I have a booth, just until it's sold out. So I know for a lot of my friends that do take orders and have production lines, it's very lucrative for them. For me, I'm always happy to just sell the glass that I have made. When I get an order, it's like sometimes it's hard to get it done just because I have to make it at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
But to go and to party and hang out with my friends, that's where the real, because most of us are hermits. We hang out with each other. It's all, if we do hang out, it's usually with our shop mates or whatever, and it's just a small tight circle, and then you have a whole bunch of other people across the country doing the same thing with either themselves or their circle, and then we're all in Vegas, and some of those people are really, like, I consider good friends of mine that I might talk to once or twice a month, but at Vegas, it's like no time has passed, and yeah, it's awesome. It's like a big reunion every 6 months of a bunch of artistic hermits that we all have our own quirks and personalities and things that we like to do, and Vegas is a perfect playground for us.
Yeah, it sounds like, that's something I've always found unique about our industry. Like like you're saying, it's like we all have our personalities and stuff, and we're all also semi-introverted, and it's such an interesting dynamic to have the personalities that we have being creative and wanting to get our shit out there, but then we're very want to stay in our cave. It's kind of like you're saying, it's unique.
Yeah, it really is. I feel really lucky to be a part of this whole this whole thing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. So after Operation Pipe Dreams, so you basically went on Europe at that point where you had your setup on, for yourself. Did you go ahead and start your own production line, or how'd you go about kind of getting your foot back on the ground after that whole situation went down?
Well, I had my own equipment. I was I moved to Alabama for like 9 months. I had a little studio in my garage at the house I was renting. I kind of woodshedded, but looking back, I should have taken way more advantage at the time I had than I did. Like, I probably was lazier than I should have been while I was in Alabama, looking back at how I am now. But I guess for at the time, that was just me. And and so yeah, I did a little bit of woodshedding and practicing, but I didn't spend near as much time on. I was almost intimidated by all the new equipment and not having a boss over me telling me what to do. It's kind of like having complete freedom from having absolutely no creative freedom was almost, yeah, like intimidating. Like I'd go into the studio and not really know what to make.
Yeah, it's the worst feeling in it. It's like
Yeah,
being a writer having a blank piece of paper and a pen in front of you, and you're like,
yeah,
what the fuck? Where do I
it's like
start?
exactly like a writer's block. And so, yeah, I probably could have worked but I didn't know what to practice, or I wasn't exposed to a whole lot other than the production lines we were doing.
Hmm.
So I really didn't know. I'm a person that if I see someone do it, I can figure it out or recreate it or that kind of thing. But to sit there and try to at that time, now I can look at a finished piece and reverse engineer it pretty good. But at that time, I didn't know enough about the medium. In fact, one of the things that really irritated me about where I came up, and it's like probably the only thing I can really look back and still like it irks me, was they taught us the wrong terms for things.
Mm.
And I don't know if they did it on purpose or now with the hindsight, maybe they just didn't know the right terms. Either, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I would run into other glass blowers at that time, especially in the early phase, I'd run into in SoCal, there was a couple other production companies that were big, like the System and uh, what else? Can't even drawing a blank, but there was a couple other big production companies. 5150. There's a couple other studios
yeah,
that
yeah,
were
yeah.
pumping out a lot of pieces, and occasionally you'd run into the blowers at places in SoCal, and they'd be guys, my own age, and you try to talk to them, and they would talk, and it was like a foreign language was coming. I'd have no idea what they were talking about, and then I'd try to like talk about my work, and they'd look at me like I was stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I went to Chong's, that's when I discovered that we had been taught the wrong terms for a lot of things, because these guys were talking to me and saying the same stuff I had heard other people use, and then it dawned on me what was going on, and I remember being really, really upset about that, like almost. Yeah, like they were purposely hindering. I don't know. At the time, I felt really frustrated about it. Now, looking back, I really don't know the motivation. Maybe it was so we wouldn't be able to share the secrets that they were teaching us, or maybe
Right.
they just really didn't know the right terms at the times. But it doesn't matter now. It was frustrating back then.
Yeah, man, I hear you. Yeah, it's important to have that. Like, 'cause it's part of my goal with the show too is like kind of creating some kind of like across the board same terminology you use, same definitions, pronunciations, like all that stuff. And it seems like the more our community grows, it's happening without my show, even
Yeah,
just like
absolutely.
just naturally, the words, because like you're saying, like some people may call soda pop and pop soda, and some people call it Coke, but we all know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But with glass terms, maybe not. It's like there's so many different
Yeah,
ways of explaining something. It's fascinating.
I think. Yeah, I think with the glass, I think. Yeah, I really don't know if we were purposely taught the wrong things, and also with the whole Coke analogy. I mean, that's been around for so long that we all know now
Hmm.
what the different terms mean. But this glass thing's kind of new.
Yeah, for sure. Thinking too, man, like back on your journey, mine as well, and other artists who I've talked to and know that have been doing this for as long as we have, comparing them to the new generation that's like maybe 3 to 5 years in. It's we really didn't have the educational classes and programs, and like nobody wanted to share anything for years, unless like you're saying you work for a production studio where they are teaching you because they
Yeah,
want you to work for them. But other than that, like
yeah,
we struggled and had a slower progression because we didn't have the people out there now like that are teaching these classes or whatever. And because I'm in the same boat, dude. Like I was, just I'd go experiment and learn techniques, and if I didn't like that technique, I would just move on to the next one until I found my groove in a sense. Because I think I had like 25 items in my production line I was doing. I also sold glass to Dynamite, and I had a couple different other distributors too at that time.
nice.
And yeah, man, it was fun. But once I got into like you're saying, like once the head scene like really got going and glasspipes.org started, and I started seeing like Jason Lee and Marcel and Scott Deppy and Esh, and I mean like there's a lot of guys out there, or not Esh, but Ease and Darby Home, like all those guys out there that were like who the fuck are these guys? This is crazy. I suck.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
beat
yeah. It
beat
was
yourself
really.
up.
Yeah, you do. But then, yeah, you either move on and try to do what you want, or you just let that stop you. And um, I'm not one to let that stop me.
Yeah,
You
I'm in
know,
the
you
same
name
boat.
some of those names like, Darby, that's another name him and his family have been incredible to me over the years. When I first came up as Lurch, he was one I ran into, and he was one that would actually come into Crush when I worked there, and he would like kind of show, like he was the one who showed us how to write our names in glass and implode it
Cool.
and that kind of stuff. He was always one to share, knowledge and see what we would do with it. And so, I developed a friendship with him early on as Lurch, and I would bug him when I passed through Oregon. I'd always stop by or wherever he was, if I could stop by and see him, and I'd have him look at my pieces, and man, I'd bug him, tell me what's wrong with it, Darby. What am I missing? Because in my limited knowledge of what to look for in headpieces, the things that I was focusing on I was missing a lot of stuff in my own work. You know what I mean? That needed to be like tightened up and cleaner and stuff like that. And to get him to really critique my work was difficult. And but Leela, his wife, and she's been around heady glass for forever. She was easier to get to critique my work, because early on I told her, I was like, I'm not wanting you to pick up, it's not an ego thing for me. I really want to get better. It's not like I'm gonna, they think my work's terrible or anything like that. I want to know, I want to get good, I want to be good at this. And they would never ever felt like they were picking on my work at all when they would tell me. I remember Leela one time looking at my horns, and she's like, do you have a hand torch? And I'm like, no. She's like, you should get one. And I'm like, why? She's like, you see this? This needs to be melted in smoother. You see this? And it was just like pointing out the little things that I was missing. That, I mean, really, when it's done and you see piece A compared to piece B, it's like, whoa, I can totally see why this looks way better than this just at first glance,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm always been one that when I run into that family sticks out as a really, strong example, because I've had a lot of interactions with them where I was able to show them my work and ask for critiques and stuff. But I've never shied away from or get defensive if another artist, point out a flaw in my work, because I take it as like, cool, I want to make it look better too. Maybe the other artists are doing it to be, rude or whatever, but I never take it that way. And I've never really felt like anybody was purposely setting out when they critiqued my work to be like that. Like, I want to be good. So
yeah, man, it's huge. It's such an important thing to have your glass critiqued, and to be able to take your ego and put it aside and be able to deal with what someone's telling you, especially someone that's knowledgeable like that. It's like, I can see going to a friend and they're like, yeah, this thing fucking sucks. And you're like, dude, you can't even turn my torch on. Your opinion doesn't matter to me. But if you go to like a Darby Home or a Eugene, I mean, you obviously want them to criticize, even if it's, the constructive criticism, not being a dick about it, but it's important.
Yeah,
you gotta
and I've
have
never
that.
felt like that. Never felt like anyone was being a dick when they've critiqued my work.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's important. Like you're saying, it's very important to get that if you want to progress. I mean, because I know the things that I tend to make mistakes on, the things that I'm focusing, that I don't make that mistake while I'm doing the work, but I might totally have pushed something else out of my mind while I'm focusing on that, something that I don't see, my eye misses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, yeah.
I was like the other day, I was working on this piece, and I was dropping some down stems, and I always heat my base up first, and then I drop my down stem, clean everything up, and then I go back and just a quick reheat before I go back in my kiln, so there's no thermal shock or anything, any issues. And just, I was in a great mood. I was, getting my groove on with my music and shit, and I put it back in the kiln before reheating it, and I'm like starting the next piece, and I heard the chunky glass crack in the kiln, sound. And I was like, fuck, it's like you get so focused, but then you can like just get unfocused for such a split second, and you fuck yourself in the end.
Yeah, it happens. And I mean, and sometimes, I don't know if it happens to you when you're working, but you'll be working and then all of a sudden you'll get a real strong feeling that you either need to reheat it now or it's going to crack later.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't, or you let it pass and then you put it in the kiln and you hear that crack and you're like, oh,
yeah,
I try to always pay attention to those intuitions. And I recently got a Bunsen burner, which, man, has totally changed my work, the way I do assembly and all of that, because I have, now this huge flame. Even if I'm not working the piece in it and it's on, it has a wall of flame behind it now that used to be colder air. And so it's slowing down the cooling of the piece, and then I can go right into that Bunsen flame and reheat it up if the piece is cold and not worry about it cracking. So now when I take things out of the kiln, it's getting warmed up in the Bunsen, especially if I'm doing attachments. I can do all of my attachments at once. I don't just have to do one or two in one little area. I can be over here working and then decide to come over to the way other side of the piece and work and then go back because of that Bunsen. And I've really, my ratio of losing pieces has gone down significantly.
Heck yeah, that's a great tip.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend getting a Bunsen burner.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was last year, maybe a little bit longer than that, I saw when Rob Morrison and Preston Hanna put a little video up of their class they were teaching, and it was all about the use of a Bunsen burner. And I know Rob Morrison was even saying, like, it was amazing, like, once he started using one, it's the same thing. It's like going from not having a hand torch to having a hand torch. So it's
I would say absolutely. That's a great analogy because it's a piece of equipment that you didn't have before that now you would be lost without.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what I would do without mine.
Preston was Preston was the one who I was able to learn a lot of the Bunsen. We've done a couple of collabs, and I mean, definitely the confidence goes up, especially now if you're working and you hear that deadly tink and crack and you feel it in the blow tube. Now you can just find it and get that in the Bunsen burner and work that crack right out. It's not even an issue. A lot of things that, and it's not like I have a lot of pieces crack. It sounds really bad, but those pieces that would crack that like that is like a kill crack. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a crack that the piece is gone. Those aren't so much those cracks that used to be kill cracks aren't really kill cracks anymore with a Bunsen burner. You can really not sweat it and get it fixed.
Heck yeah, that's good to know. I need to get one. What kind do you use?
Yeah. I got the Carlisle Bunsen. It's a 4-jet Bunsen. I have a valve in the line so that way I can churn down the propane to it because the pressure I have coming out to my GTT is way too much for the Bunsen burner. And I also have some aluminum tape around the base to restrict the airflow in.
Okay.
So the propane gets turned. It only takes propane, so it just has one line going to it. It sits on my bench, and I have that valve just barely cracked, and it's an awesome flame.
Does it draw air from, like, oxygen more or less, or air from the air around it to increase the heat?
Yeah, exactly. And so from the base of it, it draws the oxygen up through the ports with the propane to make the jet flame. And so I have aluminum tape around that base that's kind of restricted how much oxygen can get up in there.
Neat. Yeah, man, I gotta get one. Yeah. Beautiful. So with your own personal business and stuff, do you do, like, in terms of the business, do you do like your own accounting and bookkeeping and stuff, or does your wife help with that kind of shit, or do you have an accountant that you go through, or?
My wife handles most of that. We do it as a sole proprietorship.
Yep.
Through taxes, so I just keep records of my tools and glass and expenses, and then keep records of the money deposited and the checks I get, and PayPal. I accept PayPal for some things, so you got to focus that. I think she goes to a tax guy when taxes are due, to help. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the things I got to keep track of for her. My tools, gas, glass, rent, all of that stuff.
Heck yeah. Do you ever weigh out your scraps at the end of the week or at the end of the month?
No, I've never weighed out my scraps.
Yeah, you should, man. If you have a knockoff bucket, it's a tax write-off for its loss in garbage.
Oh. No kidding.
Yeah, it's something I preach all the time. Like, I didn't know about it until I saw my accountant like 2 years ago, and we were talking about waste, and she's like, "Yeah, it's like just weigh out your scraps." So I always tell everybody, because I've got some PDFs I put together on a little Dropbox folder that people can go onto, and one of those is like a weekly log for your scraps, and you just like basically like weigh your bucket out empty, and then at the end of every Friday or whatever, just weigh that bucket and just do your math. You'll know how much glass you have. And it depends on how you work, too. If you use a lot of color, or like myself personally, I'm mostly clear with color accents. So I have like an 80-20 ratio. So I've done like a basic mathematical formula to figure out how much estimated value is in the clear based on how much is in the color, and then you do some math and with the weight, it's kind of a way I have it. It's an easy setup. But
nice.
Yeah, you'd be amazed, man, how much I don't throw a lot of glass away, but it does add up, Like I pull points and stuff sometimes, and there's like all that shit adds up after a while. It sucks.
Yeah, I do a lot of color heavy work, so definitely interested in any way I can save money.
Yeah, it's important because it's like keeping track of mileage. Like I don't know if you could because when you commute to your job, when you commute to your studio, you're like let me kind of back up. When I was doing my thing at Disney, I couldn't use my mileage to Disney because I was working for somebody else. But if I was going there to sell an order, I could use that mileage for taxes.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So you should be
Yeah,
able
I can keep a log of my sales trips for sure.
I think your commute too from your house to work, I think that commute also counts. I'd talk to your wife and have her ask the accountant because you might be able to get a depreciation on your vehicle also and then getting reimbursed on your mileage too. Because you're actually going to work for yourself. Like if you had a job out there, it'd be a different story, but you don't. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because I have to drive to a studio to work out of.
Yeah. Just one more little thing to look at. I try to help everybody out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Save as much money.
No, I appreciate it for sure. I'm definitely not a tax accountant guy, so
yeah, me neither, dude.
Are appreciated.
Yeah, hell yeah. Do you pay quarterly taxes or do you guys just do an annual thingy?
We do annual.
Cool. Yeah, I recommend the quarterly just because it's easier to pay estimates and shit like that, and I have a big tax bill at the end of the year. But if it works for you, it works for you. Everybody's got their thing. The only issue you sometimes can run into.
So far we haven't had an issue.
Do you guys find you ever get a penalty for not filing quarterly?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool. Because I know in some instances you can get if you have a small business, you can be penalized for not paying quarterly taxes. I think it depends on the state too. Because I don't have state taxes here, which is awesome.
Oh, that is nice. Yeah, we have state taxes here in California. It sucks.
yeah, dude. California's a fucking mess, I'm sure. How you guys been dealing with that weather you all just had blow through there?
It was nice. Up at my house, we got snow, and then down at the beach, it was just rain.
Yeah. I saw like tornado warnings and shit in San Diego and all kind of crazy stuff going on.
Oh, wow, I missed those.
Yeah, crazy, dude. Like, so it's like 13 years or something like that since there's been anything like that in San Diego. It's like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, shit's going crazy.
This is just I think the first storm that blew through. We're supposed to have them kind of coming in back to back to back.
Yeah, I heard too, like they said one of the cities there got as much rain in one day as they did the entire month of January last year, which is...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so...
I wasn't surprised because it was coming down pretty hard.
Hell yeah. Hopefully it helps that drought out, man. It's crazy out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's really, really bad out here.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, driving through the state, a lot of the places that I passed that, were rivers, they were no water running. And then up in the lakes up in Northern California, they were so low. Yeah, really depressing to see.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Hell yeah, man. So, kind of moving forward, one of the reasons, besides loving your work and wanting to get you on the show was I like how you do like to educate and share things. And your post you put up recently about your skin cancer thing, whatever skin issue that you had, and reinforcing how important it is to wear sunscreen and stuff. You want to kind of get into that a little bit and kind of share that with us?
Yeah, for sure. Like, excuse me. When I was a kid and stuff, I get sunburned a lot. We had a swimming pool in my backyard and things like that. So I'm sure that contributed to, what I was dealing with as well. But we are exposed to a ton of UV and IR light. And it's not good for your skin at all, especially for those of us that are fair complexion. I'm sure it's not good for those that have darker complexion, but I know for sure it's not good for us fair skinned people. So I would get the regular torch burn and stuff that we would deal with when you do tube pulls and things like that. And then one day I noticed like on my upper lip like a spot that was like dry skin that wouldn't ever moisturize or go away. And then I had a spot on my ear that was the same, and like I would pick the one off of my ear and it might bleed a little bit, but then it would like scab over and then just churn into that same weird kind of like crusty skin. And so I kept thinking about it, like I should probably go get checked out. And so I was living in Oregon at the time in Grants Pass, and I made an appointment with a dermatologist, and I had to wait for like 3 months for this appointment, which was really weird. I thought anyway.
Oh,
and
no,
like
dude. Mine was the same way. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I made one with mine. It was the same. It was like 3 months to get into them.
Okay, cool. Well, cool. Yeah, I had no idea. So I was like thinking it was, but a week before, I have the appointment. I'm shaving my face, and then I notice like this spot on the other side of my upper lip, like the other half of my face, um, and it was like a pimple or an ingrown hair or something like that. I had no idea. So I go to this appointment for these like crusty spots, and the dermatologist immediately sees this other thing, and she's like, "What's that? Is this what you're here for?" And I was like, "Oh no, that just happened shaving the other day. I think it's an ingrown hair." And she's like, "I'm not so sure. I want to biopsy that." And I was like, "Okay." And so she cut like a part of that off, and then she also cut a part of the crusty stuff off. And then I get a call like a week later from the doctor, and she's like, "Hey, you have basal cell carcinoma."
Jesus.
And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah." And it was that spot that I thought was the ingrown hair. It was actual skin cancer. And these crusty spots, they're like a pre-cancer, like a slow growing, like it's not cancer yet, but left alone for years and years and years, it's going to eventually turn into cancer. And so, so she made me another appointment, and then I'm in there, and they like inject my lip with a numbing thing, and then all of a sudden she's like burning and scraping, and then burning, and I could smell the burning flesh and scraping, and like she scrapes all that out of the basal cell carcinoma, and she does the same thing to my lip, and then to my ear, and then she gives me this cream to put on my face. She's like, "You got to wear this cream for a month, and what it's going to do is pull out all the other cells that are on your face that are changing, to let them know where lesions are going to." I have no idea what it is, but I wear this weird thing on my face, and like my face gets splotchy for like a month, and then they put on this other cream that like kills that all off and heals it. And so I go about my business, and the part that was the basal cell carcinoma is like a white scar spot now on my lip, and then this other spot that she had burned and scraped, like just to the left of that, started to change. The skin's like getting dry and crusty again, and so I need to go back and get that checked out or reburned off or whatever. But now I'm in California, so I just got to make an appointment. But since I know that was like a little bit slow, the slow growing, I haven't been in a rush to go. I just lag is what it is. I'm lazy sometimes, to be honest here.
Yeah,
no one likes to go to the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think men are the worst at it, but shit, man. Definitely got to stay on top of that.
Anyway, the dermatologist told me, she found out that I was blowing glass in Oregon. There's tons of glass blowers, so it wasn't necessarily unheard of. She told me to start wearing a mineral-based sunblock, not a chemical one. Mm-hmm. And she said the SPF didn't necessarily need to be super high, like 15 was cool, but it needed to be a mineral-based block, not a chemical one, because I guess the mineral ones don't break down. They stay blocking all day long. The chemical ones are just rated for like an hour, and they start breaking down under the light. I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me on that, but to my understanding, that's what was going on. So mineral-based sunblock for you fair-skinned people. No one needs to deal with this. It's a hassle. I'm only 30-something years old, in the upper 30s, but it's still pretty young. I'm still 17 in my head, so no one needs to deal with this. No one needs to deal with this. Make sure. And I got a blast shield. I got one with the protections, the added protections on that I have on my torch, and so. Protect yourself, people. You get, your life, and you should live it to the fullest.
Yeah, it's
and not get bogged down with issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, it's so important. Like that's, there's so many different areas of our industry that, because of this explosion of new people that are doing it, and for those of us that have been doing it for so long, and there's a good, I don't know how many of us, but maybe 400, maybe 500 of us that have been doing it for like 12 years plus. So it's like I'm scared in like 20 years we're all going to have some fucking weird something happen, It's so important that we all pay attention to this now, especially as laws change and we get to a point to where we can really go public even more so. You're in California, so it's different, but me being in Florida, I'm still in the good old boy states.
Gotta hold it.
Yeah, so but once we do get federally, legalized across the country, it's going to open the doors to more people coming in. And so to get this foundation of education now for everybody to understand, this is important shit. This isn't just bullshit. You got to really pay attention to everything
no.
from your ventilation to your bench setup to your lighting to your everything, especially sunscreen and your glasses that you wear. It's like those two things are so important.
Your eyes and your skin, and ventilation's so important. I see a lot of newer blowers skimp on that, and that's always been very important to me because you got to take care of your lungs, and a lot of the colors we use and stuff, they're off-gassing some pretty nasty chemicals, and you want to get that away from you. Unfortunately, no matter what, using the medium, you're going to end up ingesting. It's going to happen. You're going to breathe in stuff you don't want to be breathing in, and you're going to, but you got to do the best you can, and you got to be aware of that. And so, ventilation's another place that I see a lot of people kind of skimp out on. It needs to be good ventilation.
Yeah, absolutely. I just recently, right before my birthday, which was back in December 16th, the 15th, I went and got blood work done, my annual blood work stuff. And while I was doing it, I was like, hey, can you guys test me for my heavy metals and shit? And she's like, yeah, so go pee in a cup. And because I mentioned they were asking me the different things I'm looking for, and I said, especially besides the cobalts and crap, but cadmium is one of the ones that we deal with a lot. So I had to pee in a cup for that, but I can't. I literally got off my torch and drove to the doctor's, so I was like, it was all fresh on my system, and I was good to go, dude. Like there was no levels of anything that were anything of any concern. There was no cadmium in my blood work or in my urine at all. So it's
Right.
Which is good, for as long as I've been doing this for, and having worked in situations and spaces that were not at all ideal for any, eating a meal, much less blown glass. We've all been there, done that. Maybe not all of us. The new generation has a lot more access to the new stuff, but still, it's again, just to reiterate it is so important. And even thinking about your hands, like your hands are like the closest thing to your torch besides your face, and we don't have a blast shield protecting our hands, so we got to put sunscreen on the back of our hands and stuff too.
Yeah, it's important to cover everything that's going to be exposed to the flame.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that with us too, man. I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, no problem.
So I guess right now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take a break and thank our sponsors, and then we come back, we will crash the kiln and go through our quick round of questions. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/WiseGuyRadio. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's at www.audibletrial.com, AUDIBLETRIAL.com/WiseGuyRadio. All right, dude, we are back. That was a quick little break. So we didn't really talk about this beforehand. I used to call it the lightning round, and I was trying to come up with a term that was industry-based. So I was like, something we all do is crash in our kiln, or we have. So I figured we'd call this round the time to crash the kiln. And,
right on, man.
Yeah, dude. So basically it's about 6 questions, just kind of rapid-fire questions. You can expound upon the answers if you would like, because generally it does happen. And after that, then we'll keep on going. But you ready to get started on that?
For sure.
All right, man. Let's crash the kiln. So I guess our first question, first and foremost, is if you could work with any living glass artist that you haven't worked with yet, who is it and why?
I'd love to work with probably Jason Lee. I have not worked with him, and I've always been a fan of his work. And definitely, doing pattern work and bright popping colors and stuff like that. How could I not want to work with the man?
Yeah, especially all the Marini stuff he's doing nowadays.
It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, what is it?
Probably that tink.
Perfect.
I hope I got high pitched enough there to convey.
I'll do a little filtration in the mix and make it higher for you. What are your top 5 favorite colors in glass?
Top 5 favorite colors in glass would be jet black, steel wool, jade green, triple passion, and fade to black.
Cool. What's the worst injury you've ever had in the studio?
The worst injury, the most embarrassing and unbelievable, but that really happened, or the one that was the worst injury?
You want to share? If you want to share both, either way, dude.
I'll share both.
Okay.
Okay, the true story, when I was doing production, we sat down and worked, and I was learning how to fume with gold, and I had a piece of, like, a gold blob that was way bigger than what you should have when you're fuming, because you know how they like to jump off the rod.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually jumped off the rod and landed in my lap and burnt through my pants and through my underwear and embedded itself into my nutsack.
Jesus.
And not like embedded itself deep, but enough to where it was stuck. And so, like, I jump up, you know, in pain. I run to the bathroom. And, I dropped my drawers, and there's this little shiny, like, and I did for the split second have the thought, like, maybe I could just leave it in there. But, like, no, I pulled it out, and I get pulled out right away. But I did have, like, a little burn on my bean bag for, it was sensitive. And it did really happen, and I have one of my current shop mates was at the studio at the time. I'm lucky that I still work with some of the guys that I came up with, who actually worked with me at In-N-Out Burger, and I just ended up getting them in the glass industry because they're my friends. But anyway, that's the most unbelievable story, but it did really happen to me. And then the worst injury I think I have was probably a burn. I can't remember, but in fresh memory is a cut that it was dripping so much blood that I had to pour like a whole bunch of super glue in it, and the blood kept pushing the super glue out, and so by the time it had hardened a shell over it, I had this like mound of bloody super glue over that I just left there, and then it peeled off the next day and left like a clean cut wound that I then super glued again with way less glue. But that was like the worst. There was just a lot of blood, and some people get squeamish about blood. I never really do. I don't like seeing other people in pain, but my own is okay.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man, there's been so many times where I'm like rolling a blowpipe and I'm like, why is this thing sticky? I can't figure it out. And I look down my pipe and it's just saturated in blood from like a little scratch I had on my hand. You get
used to these, like, that happens a lot. You get little nicks and stuff that you don't even realize while you're working.
Yeah.
Because you're just in the zone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why when I teach people at first, I'm like, you're going to burn and cut yourself, and it sucks, but you just got to learn to just keep going, because if you sit there and ponder on it, it sucks. So don't ponder, unless it's like obviously really bad,
I find with most burns, if you put cold stuff on it, it makes it way worse for the rest of the day. The minute that cold thing is gone, it just starts throbbing. But if you just work through the pain and get it kind of close to the heat again, in 20 minutes, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Hell yeah, man. So you kind of already answered this one, but I'm going to ask it anyways. In the shop, so you guys listen to the radio or watch TV? How do you guys go about that?
Oh, well, we do both, actually. We have a TV, and sometimes the guys like to watch movies. My back is to the TV, so I'm only kind of interested if it's a movie I've seen before, because then I don't have to be watching it. I'm kind of, know what's going on. But a lot of times we listen to music, and in the mornings, I'm usually got the studio to myself for a couple hours, and sometimes I don't listen to anything. I just like the silence. And then sometimes I like to listen to I listen to everything from rock to classical to country I listen to everything. And then nighttime, we call it Goosefire After Dark, and you can actually look at that hashtag on Instagram.
Nice.
But Lamar, he takes over DJ duties, and he plays a lot of like trap music and drum and bass and all of that electronic dance music. And so it's kind of fun because he gets into it, and you can't. I enjoy that kind of music too. So at night, it's definitely like a nightclub at Goosefire.
Hell yeah, I'm on the hashtag right now, and I see what you mean. Dudes in their underwear, all right.
Team stuff.
That's fucking awesome. That's what's so much fun though, dude, is having a space where you can just have fun and share it and be creative and just not give two shits.
Hey, we and in our break room we have this awesome arcade system, and we've got a ping pong table and a weight bench, and it's not just work there. There's a lot of non-work stuff that you're at the studio to do, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm really this is the happiest I've ever been at a studio I've ever worked at. I mean, Goosefire is awesome.
Hell yeah, that is too cool. So my last and final question for you to finish this one is a fun one. If you were stranded on an island that had a glass studio and all it supplied was your gases and a kiln, and you had to make a vase, what 5 items would you bring?
Let's see. Well, I'd probably want a generously tapered reamer. Um, and are we just talking hand tools?
Whatever 5 items you need to make it.
Well, I need my torch. I definitely need my torch. I need a reamer. I'd need my curved. I have a pair of hook pliers I use for a lot of stuff. So that's 3 things. My paddle. That's 4. And I need a claw grabber. Even though I'm not really a fan of them, I need a claw grabber. So that would be my 5 to make that.
There's one important thing you're missing, which a lot of folks miss.
What?
Your glasses. Your glasses.
Oh yeah, I'd need my glasses too.
Yeah.
Well, then I'd have to ditch out the. I could ditch out on the claw holder for my glasses.
There you go.
So there we go.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man, think of ways to like take wood or rocks or whatever and make tools that you got to make. That's why I think it's an interesting question. And I usually know, honestly, I think I was actually asking people with their torch also in there included as an item, because of course you're going to need that. But then at the same time, maybe not, because then you can start a fire and create some kind of oxygen pump system, and like they used to do back in the day before we had torches.
Yeah. Yeah, you see those old-timey pictures with the lamp working stations, and they got the foot bellows they're working,
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy, though, dude, thinking that shit, thinking of what it went to, what it's gone from to where we are now, to where, like, if the shit hit the fan, we could actually still go back to that. Like, I've always said that if the shit hits the fan and our power grid systems goes down and we're all fucked, I'm going to make milk bottles for the cow farmers and trade milk and meat for bottles,
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that always appealed to me about this was, after when I signed up to do it or I got hired, it was, they were emphasized it's a 2-year commitment, and but I always thought, well, like after the 2 years, I'll have a set of skills, that's like no one can take that from me. I know how to work glass, so a lot of people don't do things with their hands anymore, and a lot of our society is geared towards just not being able to do things with their hands. Like a lot of things you need to go to a specialist to have repaired, or you just throw it away and buy a new one. You don't fix it. So, these are skills that used to be, and I'm not just talking glass, but I'm just working with your hands in general and being able to make something from nothing, were more common skills that people had 100 years ago than they have now. And so I'm glad to be a part of that tradition.
Yeah, I agree, dude. Yeah, to be an artist, but also to be a craftsman in a sense, and have that trade,
Yeah.
or, the tradition, like you're saying. Especially with our tradition, the lamp working isn't as old as glass in general, but it's still to be a part of this long history of tradition of glass artists. It's a blessing to be able to do this and get up every day and make a living at it.
Absolutely. I feel grateful every day that I get to do this.
Hell yeah, it's amazing. So before we let you go, man, if you can give our audience any kind of parting piece of advice, and then also where we can find you in cyberspace.
Let's see, parting piece of advice as far as what, in life in general?
Yeah, just with the glass, I guess, towards the glass. I mean, you can do whatever, man, about life. I mean, honestly, that's what this is all about,
Well, let's see. Yeah, I guess for the glass, for a new person, would be to just, a lot of the new people I see coming out to the scene, they're so focused on trying to make what they see is cool now, that they don't really get the basic skills in. And it's far more important to be able to do the basic stuff really, really well, because the market's going to constantly change. So if you see something that you want to make and that's all you're going to learn how to make from the get-go, is just try to recreate something that someone has already done, and then B, you don't have the skill set to do it, you're going to end up hindering your growth. But if you spend time on the basics, like learning how to blow a proper bubble, learning how to do proper welds and seals and that kind of stuff, then you can make whatever you want later on down the road without having to worry about those things, because you have the basics, you can build off of that. And so then wherever the market churns, you're going to be able to follow suit, or even in time be able to guide what's becoming popular and that kind of thing, because you have the skill set and you're not constantly chasing the curve, I guess, is what the best way to describe it. You're not constantly chasing the skills that you need to make what you see. You already have those, so you can be doing what you want to be doing.
Yeah, man. Well said. Yeah, it's like this whole fucking Q-tip holder thing. You know, it's. I saw one of your friends that you work with on. I was looking at earlier. I can't remember who the hell it was off the top of my head, but he was showing a picture of a Q-tip holder that he made for his mom like 5 years ago, and I commented saying, I just recently posted the same thing. Went to my sister's house and saw this Q-tip holder. I made every year I make my family something, and that was like 5-6 years ago. That was the Christmas gift, was a Q-tip holder for your bathroom. So I told my sister, I'm like, that thing's worth about $1,000 right now. You can go on Instagram and auction it off.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny. I see a lot of people hating on those kinds of things, and like, I can't get mad at people making money at all. That's awesome.
Oh,
Good
hell
for
yeah.
them.
Yeah, fuck
You
it.
know, like,
yeah, it's not crack. It's some cool glass, and if someone's going to pay the money for it, fuck it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of neat to see also what the industry can come up with to use some of the things we make.
Yeah,
for.
exactly. And yeah, and that's kind of on a kind of we're going on here a little bit, but I love to see the third party companies in a sense that are going along with the industry that are helping move and innovate them and us, and it's like this back and forth kind of symbiotic relationship we have. It's really neat to see it, and then like the collectors are also involved in that process too, based on feedback and what they're looking for, and it's just such a huge
absolutely.
opportunity as an entrepreneur to kill it and be successful and be innovative. But you got to have drive. You can't be a lazy fuck that wants to make 2 pipes and go sell it and make a couple bucks so you can buy some Doritos and play video games. You got to dedicate 20 hours a day to this shit for like 5 years at least.
Yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of people don't see the time we put into to get what we get out of it. They don't see the lost pieces or I mean, man, you go on a lot of the glassblowers Instagram feeds, and it looks like we have awesome lives and we're always doing fun stuff, and it looks really cool. But the reality is like, we work 2 weeks, 17 hours a day, and then we might get to go out and do something cool. So of course we're going to take pictures of that and share that and that kind of thing. I mean, it's a lot of work to do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not an easy paycheck at all.
Yeah, man, like I never feel hesitant or bad or whatever when my wife and I go to Disney and we go to Food and Wine at Epcot or something, and we're drinking all day and I'm taking pictures of what we're having fun doing. It's like I'm not bragging. I'm just sharing that if you could have this same kind of life, you have whatever the fucking life you want to have. This is what I choose to do, and I'm sharing my fun with you guys. So.
That's awesome. You get to go to the Epcot. I've never been there.
Oh, dude! If you ever want to come out to Florida, bro, actually, kind of I mean, we'll probably go on for the next 3 hours here as we talk. But I part of one of my goals this year is I now have a 1,200 square foot space that I'm sharing with a friend of mine. So what my goal this year is to start contacting artists to bring, actually either fly in or bring into town, to come into the studio to teach us private lessons, basically, but also to collab and hang out. Because I'm like 5 minutes from the beach, and we got so much going on here. I live in this town called Dunedin, and it's this little artsy fartsy town. Like people drive their golf carts around and shit. Everybody's drinking. We have like 3 microbreweries in town. Like it's a really cool place. But
are you guys on the east or west coast?
I'm in West Central Florida, like just west.
Okay, so you're on
Tampa.
the Gulf.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Right
yeah.
on.
So, yeah, man. So, and that's part of my thing too, is having access to Disney is like part of like the carrot I want to dangle out there. Be like, hey, you come hang out and blow some glass with us and teach us some shit. I'll pay you whatever what you charge, and then we can go play at Disney for a day, or I got a house, or I can get your room, whatever. There's kind of some ideas I've been playing with, but. You ever get an inkling or whatever, dude, to itch to come out to Florida, brother? You always got a place to stay and a studio to work in, and I'd love to have you out here for sure.
Nice, man. I appreciate that.
Hell yeah. And like I said, it's been 80 degrees plus, even though it's, winter. So if it gets too cold for you, hit me up.
For sure, man. Thank you.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thanks again, bro. It's been fun talking to you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me on your show, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. Absolutely. Anytime. And don't be afraid to share the show with your boys in the studio there. I'd love to get all those guys on this show.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of them would be interested to be part of the show, my man.
Yeah, it'd be fun. So, hell yeah, man. We'll take it easy, and happy melting. And I hope you all enjoyed this talk with Lurch, and we'll see you on the flip side. Oh, hey, dude, you know what we forgot to say? And real quick, is you never gave us how to contact you out there in cyberspace.
Oh, yeah, how to contact me in cyberspace. You can find me at Glass... Or, yeah, you can email me at glasslurch@yahoo.com. You can find me on Instagram, Lurch Glass. You can find me on Twitter, Lurch Glass. I don't really do much on Twitter, but I got one. And then, most everything you can either Google Lurch Glass to find me, or just put it in the search bar of whatever social media you're looking for. I probably have an account. I do most of my stuff through Instagram. That's the one that is the easiest and most fun for me to use. So that's the one I would recommend you follow me on.
Hell yeah. Sweet. All right, man. Well, thanks again. And go check out his page at Lurch Glass on Instagram. You guys take it easy. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.